Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. I wanted to take just a quick moment to thank you all who continually support and listen to James Miller Lifeology. I have been so blessed and honored by your continual support. I wanted to make sure that you don't miss out on anything exciting that's happening over here. So make sure you sign up for my free newsletter at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to help you look for opportunities all around you. I'll also be interviewing best-selling author Richard Hack, who shares his life and how he daily looks for opportunities. This practice has caused him to be the successful person he is today. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Many of you know me as a psychotherapist, but some of you don't yet know me as a composer. I currently have 2 albums which have been released. Think of both albums like books. Each composition is written like a chapter in a book. The first album, Consolation, explores a character's grief and loss. And just like a story, the character experiences heartache and eventually he finds healing and hope. The second album, Restoration, follows the same character. He has an internal awakening, and in this awakening, he recognizes all the things in his life which aren't healthy, and it helps him come to a place of restoration, being restored to something greater than before. You may purchase both albums on iTunes or any other digital music store, or simply listen to them on iHeartRadio. The names of the albums are Consolation and Restoration, and my stage name is James S. Miller. The name of the piece you're currently hearing is from the second album, Restoration, entitled Determination. Daily opportunities. We've all seen those stars that we often wish we could be like them. They got a big break, and all of a sudden they were launched into their destiny. And then we look at our own life and think that we don't really have those opportunities. When we compare ourselves to different people, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. Each person has a specific skill set, sets of talents, and a path that is specifically for them. So when we often compare ourselves to other people, we're not going to have those same opportunities that they have. It's important for each of us to start our day with expectancy. And what I mean by that is this. How you start your day is indicative of how it's going to be. When you set your intentions of how you want your day to be, and you're constantly checking in with yourself to make sure you're accomplishing that goal, you're going to have a very productive day. So one way to really do this is in the morning when you set your intentions, is you're going to remind yourself that you're going to look for opportunities. Sometimes we're looking for really large opportunities and we miss what some would consider a small opportunity. When we open our eyes to every situation we're in, we are expecting some type of blessing or some type of opportunity that may be different than what we experienced before. One thing I do, and this is just to give you an example of how you can do that, is every day when I experience something that is an opportunity of some sort, something that I wasn't expecting, or I received something that was out of the ordinary for me, I always write it down in the notes on my phone. Because when that happens, it really energizes me to look for something more. And what I mean by that is when we look for good things in our life, when we look for blessings in our life, we see more of them. Think of a coin. If you bring a coin closer to your eye, that's all you're going to see. But if we're very internal, or we're focusing on things that really don't matter, we're focusing on conversations or gossip, or what people are maybe saying about us on social media, all of those things are irrelevant. So when we focus on those negative things, or those things that just don't give us a good return, that's all we're going to see. All that energy is used to process something that at the end of the day doesn't really matter. So every new thing you do, you're walking down the street, or you're talking to a friend, or you're going grocery shopping, every new event, you want to set your intentions that you're going to look for something different. You're going to look for a wonderful new opportunity that you didn't have before. Because once you start to look for these opportunities, they become bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon, that's all you see. Pretty soon, you're so amazed that your life is different. But it's your perception on what you focus that determines how successful you're going to be. When you meet a random person, you don't know who that person is. That person could introduce you to somebody else. That person could introduce you to the love of your life. That person could open up doors for you that you weren't able to open yourself. So everything you do, you want to keep your eyes open for an opportunity that you wouldn't have seen had you focus on those things that are irrelevant. Every day, we have a 24-hour reset to look for something different, to focus on those things that are healthy for us. So this is an exciting lesson for me to teach today. Because when you can look for those opportunities in your life, you'll see that they're all around you, but you won't see them if you focus on those things that are irrelevant to you. Open your eyes to the wonderful opportunities that are all around you. And I promise you, my friend, they are all around you. Did you know I have a YouTube channel? That's actually how Lifeology started. I have well over 155 episodes that I've created specifically for you. I do know that many people struggle with listening to a full 30-minute show. So these episodes are about 3 minutes long. Each episode will give you a practical tool or technique that you can practice daily to help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, or go to YouTube and search for my name, James Miller Lifeology. Richard Hack is an award-winning author of some 24 books and 3 miniseries and is a regular on TV's talk show circuit. Richard is the author of Hughes, the definitive biography of billionaire Howard Hughes. The book later became the movie The Aviator, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, which went on to win 10 Academy Awards. His newest writing is a best-selling fitness book titled Baby Boomer's Guide to the Fountain of Youth. He is here today to share with us his own personal story and how he daily looks for opportunities. Welcome to my show, Richard.
Well, thank you, James. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and my listeners don't know this, but Richard actually is a dear friend of mine, so I'm very honored to have this distinguished person here on my show with us today.
So distinguished. That's right. We do have fun.
Yeah, exactly. You've done so many amazing things in your life. I remember when I first met you, I was literally blown away because obviously you're an incredibly approachable person, but very successful as well. When you first got started in the business, were you expecting to have so many random opportunities in your life?
Well, I was expecting to have all opportunities. I was naive enough to think that writing as a career was easy. So, because writing for me is easy, what I didn't realize is that you have to be paid for the work. And in order to be paid, you have to discover a publisher or someone willing to pay. And at the time that I began, I was very, very young. I was only 19, and I had flown from New York out to Los Angeles without any concept of a literary agent or a writer's representative of any kind. I just looked in the yellow pages of the LA phone book for employment agencies that hired writers. If you can imagine. I mean, telling this story makes me look so stupid, but that's exactly what I did.
But do you ever look back on that life endeared to your own naivete? I mean, that's very endearing.
I still have that, that same quality, though. 3/4 of my life is spent with my mouth open, just agape at how I managed to fall into these plots. But in this particular case, I happened to discover a company called Specialized Personnel, run by a woman named Marty May, and on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. And I walked to see her. And walked into her office and told her I was a writer. The ad said, "We find unusual jobs for unusual people." So I told her, well, I am very unusual. I came from New York. I consider myself a writer. I haven't written anything except, for myself, but that's what I want to be. And where are the jobs? And she said, "Oh, honey, I hate to tell you, but at this place, we hire the people to dress in the chicken outfit and dance outside of the opening of the new KFC."
Yes, that's very unusual.
Yeah, exactly. So wasn't exactly the right place for me, but she did mention at the time, well, I heard, while you're here, she said, I heard of a job opening over at TV Guide, but it was months ago. And it probably isn't there. And at the time, TV Guide magazine was the largest selling magazine in the world with 40 million readers. Wow. And they had an East Coast office in New York and a West Coast office in Beverly Hills. And that office was looking, she told me, for a writer to write the 3-line listings descriptions of the TV shows. Right, the blurbs that we now see scrolling on Comcast on their channel, for information. But then it was the magazine about the size of Reader's Digest, and there were people that actually read scripts and wrote those 3 lines of copy. And as it turned out, I got a job with them. I walked over to them right from her. I took a test. I got the job. I was nervy enough just to walk in and say, I'm here. What do you got? And actually, what they had was a job to write a half page on the 10 best shows for the week.
Oh, wow.
And what that meant was that I got to pick out the 10 best shows on television for a week based on the advice of the people who were reading all these scripts. If they saw something special, they would come to me and say, I think this deserves a half a page. You go and tell me what you think. And I'd actually go out to the studios or the networks and screen the TV shows.
Wow.
Like 2 weeks before they were on the air.
That's so odd because nowadays, we don't, at least I don't know about that, but it seems like it's just so different than it was back then.
Yeah, well, the process is no different as far as the taping of a show or the broadcasting of a show. It's exactly the same.
Sure.
The difference is back then it was pre-computers. This was in the 80s. We didn't have computers. Everything was done by teletype. And most of the material was done on film instead of tape. Tape was used, but it wasn't used extensively. So I would go into movie theaters and look at these TV shows in a theater setting.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is awesome.
Which was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But you were by yourself in a big dark room, and you press a little button and tell the projectionist to start, and I'd sit there and take my notes, and it was pretty fun. And the point of the whole story is, though, that the opportunity to write these 10 things had been sitting there unfilled for those months. The person they were looking for just had to be like a TV fanatic that knew about what was good and what was bad, and I didn't really know that. But they didn't know I didn't know it.
Sure.
I would sit there and pretend I knew what I was looking at. What I knew was how to translate into writing.
Sure.
So that was where I excelled.
Yes.
And I think all of us anywhere, both in this country and around the world, are presented with opportunities, not only like that, but in any area. We pass them every day. Sometimes we see them, but most of the time we just walk right past them.
Yeah.
And the successful person is the one who keeps their eyes open, not only for your own opportunities, but opportunities for other people as well.
Yes. And that's one of the most important things I think as well, is when you have a mindset or just a mentality of helping other people, that's when you're helped as well, because we're all in this together, obviously. And so if I'm helping you, you're helping me. It's and the synergy of that, we both get caught up in the next level of what that looks like.
And networking, of course, is vital for that. People know people who know people. And if you have any sort of talent, and we all do, everyone has talent. I've discovered that people many times don't believe their talent is worthy of anything.
Yeah.
Yet they have remarkable talent that they don't necessarily keep it hidden, but they don't show the light on themselves as they're not in that spotlight where they should be if they want to actually capitalize on the opportunities.
Well, it also just goes with, what do we focus on? If my life is full of drama or full of situations that at the end of the day just don't matter to me, well, I've missed that opportunity to look for opportunities. Because if I'm so busy focused on things that have no return, then that is going to steal my energy account, if you will. And I won't be able to focus on those things that really could launch me in a completely different direction in my life.
Yes, no kidding. And the opportunities that are around us all are really around us all. The amazing way that my career grew from that TV guide experience into being called on the telephone one day by a man named Alan Carr, who produced La Cage aux Folles on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
And also did the Grease movies, 1 and 2. Remember that with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John? Well, he was the executive producer of those. But Alan Carr called me one day. He had read all my stuff in TV Guide and represented a lot of actors. And he said to me, you ought to go over to the Hollywood Reporter, which was and is a trade paper in
Hmm.
Hollywood and New York. And he said, even if you've got to take a pay cut, they have an opening over there for a columnist that writes about television. And I said to him, well, I'm already at TV Guide. I'm already at the best-selling magazine
Sure.
on earth. Why on earth would I want to do that? I was not seeing that opportunity for what it was. And actually, it's a perfect example because this man said to me, well, if you work at TV Guide, you are not known. You are an anonymous writer of these
Mm.
half pages. Your name isn't on the page that you're writing.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
anonymous.
Which is a form of branding. You weren't being
That's
branded as
right.
well.
And
Hmm.
he said if you have your own column every day in this Hollywood Reporter trade paper, every single person in Hollywood picks it up first thing in the morning with their coffee. And whatever you say is true. You make the news. Your opinion molds their opinion. And he said it doesn't matter if you have to take less money, you'll have more power, it will make up for it, and everyone will know your name.
Wow.
And that's a specific example of a very innocent thing that I could have easily not done
Hmm.
because I was quite happy having 40 million readers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I liked going to the movie studios, and I liked
Yeah.
getting, cases of champagne sent to try to get my attention,
Yeah.
which I'd send back. But the idea was I liked the job I had,
Hmm.
but I liked the next job even better. And so it went, and so it went, and I actually ended up writing 3,000 columns for that
Oh my gosh.
over 15 years for that publication. But then I got another call after 3,000 columns. He called me again.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and he said, "Now's the time." I remember very well. I was flying on Pan American Airlines over to the Cannes Film Festival, and I had stopped in New York City to change planes, and I was in the first class lounge, and I played my message machine back in Hollywood, and he said, "Now's the time." So when I called him back, I said, "What do you mean now's the time?" And he said, "Well, now's the time. If you're ever going to move out of writing your column, now's the time, or else you're only going to be known as a columnist. So
Ah.
now is the time to stretch your wings and write books or write movies or write something other than the same column that you're now very comfortable doing." I mean, I was working maybe an hour and a half a day. I was doing all these TV shows like The Tonight Show, The Today Show, and Good Morning America. Anytime anybody needed a specialist on TV, they'd call me because I was working for the trade paper,
Yeah.
and had all the news. So I didn't want to move. I was quite comfortable, but opportunities don't necessarily come wrapped in comfort.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, that's
usually
true.
come wrapped in adventure and the unknown. And that's why a lot of people, seems to me, fail to grasp the opportunity when they see them. We're afraid of taking that step because you don't know what's out there. But to
Yeah.
me, that's the interesting part, not the downside. Because if you stay in your comfort zone all the time, you actually never grow and you never change. It's nice, and you may be okay.
But that
But
becomes a form of mediocrity, though, because
yes,
then you
and
just remain
yes,
average when you could grow and develop in a way that's
you're
so
just
much
not
exponential.
you're not excited.
Hmm.
And if you have to go through life unexcited, I mean, it's hard enough to get through it. But as you and I have discussed before, in reality, life is not this difficult.
Yeah. Yeah,
Remember,
it's not. It's not
no,
as difficult unless we make it difficult.
unless we make it difficult. If we tell ourselves it is simple, it really becomes simple. And it doesn't matter whether you are in the housing projects and you have two jobs and you're on minimum wage. The fact is, life is not this difficult. We make our own difficulties.
Yes.
And a lot of the times we make those difficulties so that we feel in ourselves very important. We feel like we're overcoming these problems.
Mm.
We feel like we're achieving something because we're surmounting a problem that we put there. And we put it there so that we can get over it
It's like the
and
chicken or
feel
the egg. Which one
successful.
gets it? Yeah.
Right, exactly. And if we didn't do that, if we didn't spend so much time doing that, if we just looked to the next opportunity, it gives a whole new perspective to the way you look at
Mhm.
things. I mean, everything's exciting, and I don't have a boring day ever. I'm
I
telling
love
you, as you
it.
know,
I know,
we
yeah.
first met. It just is so exciting because
Yeah.
everybody has their wonderful stories to tell,
Well, I always like to think about my day as a movie. You know, some movies it's a romantic movie, it's a romantic comedy, it's an adventure, it's a suspense, it's a thriller. When you can think of your life as a movie and you're the audience, but you're also the participant, it's like, what's going to happen next? Oh, this is
well,
exciting.
in your life, it's a romance, Jake. That's okay. That's okay. That's how you are.
I know I'm a hopeless romantic with everything. That's so funny.
Yes. Well, I must tell you, though, having listened to many, many, many of your programs and read your columns, I find that you are one of the most centered people that I've ever experienced. And I often wonder what it's like to have all that knowledge about being not not angry,
Mm.
not, I mean, you seem to have all of those answers at your fingertips. And um, I know that that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that none of us really
Sure.
do, even when
Sure.
you know the answer
Yeah.
and when you write it down and it sounds wonderful. In the real world,
Mhm.
sometimes our own emotions get in our own way. And even though we know what we're supposed to be doing,
Sure.
we don't do it anyway.
Well, thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you to say that. You know, but it is true in the sense of I like to think of myself as not only the teacher, but also the student. So even though I do a half-hour show, I will go back and listen to some of my YouTube episodes, and I think I need to practice that myself right this minute. And so I listen to it as a student because, as we all know, I'm no different than anybody else. I get to learn, I struggle, I get overwhelmed just like everybody else. But I think the difference is for any of us is when we're aware that how we're acting today, what we're doing today does not have to be permanent, or it doesn't have to, if we don't like it, we can simply change it. And so I like to think, well, if I don't like how I feel, what do I do? And sometimes I have to go back into my own archives and be like, well, what do I do?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing, since we know one another, is
Mhm.
that I have seen you uh, give counsel to people in such a logical, kind way when they are just bordering on hysteria or very nervous about something that's going on in their life or very upset about a relationship or whatever it may be. And the calming way that you express yourself is it's fascinating to me
Oh,
because
thank you.
I'm a great believer in the fact that we make that intensity happen, good or bad, by our own brains and our own mouths, and
Yes.
the opportunities that we grasp or don't fall into the same bucket.
Well, thank you. You're very, very kind. I really appreciate your kind words. I really do.
Yeah, and everyone should listen. I'm telling you, because you have some very, very logical and smart concepts that you're passing along every single day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This, I'm actually blushing over here, but
I
I
can
do,
tell.
I'm totally blushing, but thank you,
Well,
Richard.
I'm blushing too, but it's for a different reason. I just looked down and I realized I wasn't wearing any pants, but that's all right. No
So
one
sorry.
knows.
No, it's so funny.
When I used to do I used to do a TV show called Breakaway. It was a daytime syndicated show that Dr. Laura
Uh-huh.
Schlesinger, the radio
Sure.
talk show person, did as well. And it was a daily hour. And I would deliver the Hollywood news, and I would read it off a teleprompter, and I'd be in a coat and tie. But below the coat and tie, the part you would never see, I'd be in my my Hollywood shorts, my Malibu shorts and my thongs. And for every year for the gag reel they would do for the Christmas party, they pull the camera back and you'd see me being very important and delivering this news very seriously. A lot of part of me was half naked, and
So
there
funny.
you go. And there you are.
But I think that's the thing. I mean, when you don't, regardless of how anybody can be so important, but when you have humor in your life, when you don't take yourself so seriously, when you look for these opportunities, when you just enjoy life, that's when I just find that things just change, because you're not so serious that life is, like we said, so hard that there has to be this present ourselves in a way that's really not who we are.
No, and you do have to, though, keep your eyes open for the opportunity that surrounds you. When you mentioned my last book, The Baby Boomer's Guide to the Fountain of Youth, that book came about because I was in the vegetable section of a supermarket, and this guy walked up to me and said, you'd be really hot if you lost 15 pounds. And he walked away just like that. And I thought, what on earth is that? And then about 6 weeks later, I was in the same supermarket, and the same guy walks up to me and says the same thing. And this time, I was ready for him. I wasn't quite so shocked. And I said, "Listen, buddy, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm not buying. I recognize the scam when I see it." And he said, "Well, no. I noticed you here before, and you had this more or less put together body, but you're not taking full advantage of what Mother Nature has given you." And I said, "Well, I'm a vegetarian and I don't think I can eat any less." And he said, "Well, no, I want you to eat more. You're not eating enough. You're starving your body. And if you follow my program, I guarantee you in 6 weeks that you'll have six-pack abs and everything will be tight and you'll have muscles and all this other stuff," which, of course, at the time I was hearing it, I didn't believe completely,
Sure.
but I was well enough attuned to opportunity to say, this might be one right there. Let me see what this guy has to offer, because he wasn't making me pay for anything. He just wanted to show me it would work. And if it worked, I'd become the walking billboard for his fitness program. And as it turned out, 6 weeks after we had this conversation, I did have the six-pack abs.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that the story ended that way.
As you know,
Yeah.
it did pull itself together, and the program was so simple that it ended up being this book, which is a perfect example of not saying no, giving things a try, putting yourself in a out of comfort zone, and going for it all the time. I mean, the more uncomfortable you can make yourself every day, the more achievements you'll receive as a result, because you'll try harder.
Yes, that is a beautiful takeaway as we close this interview. Yes, I really agree with that. In fact, I'm going to be much more vigilant in my own opportunities in my life and make sure that I'm much more diligent in keeping my eyes open for them. Richard Huck, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. If my listeners would like to find out any information about you, because you've done so much, you're all over the internet, you're all over television, where will they find the information about you?
Well, they can certainly look up Richard Hack on Google. They can Google the name, but they can go on Amazon. All my 28 books are on there. And I have a web page that if they go on Wikipedia, it's linked to it. It makes it very easy. So they don't even have to memorize anything.
Oh, perfect. Well, wonderful.
That part's good. Just like you, James, we all have our lives spread out there online.
I know, right?
Yeah,
for better or for worse. Yeah,
that's right.
Richard, thank you once again. I really do appreciate you joining with us today.
Yes, James, and keep up the great work. I just love what you do.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy, where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise on this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.